Into session. First order of business is roll call. So any commissioners who are online, I don't think there are any, but if there are any, please unmute yourselves. And when I say your names, online or not, when I say your names, please say here or I. Chair Kevin White, I am here. Commissioner Boateng. Okay. Yeah, I think Boateng, Commissioner Boateng is out today, which is okay. Commissioner Kristen Cockle. Commissioner Mary Ellen Metzger.
Here.
Thank you, Mary. And Vice Chair Amy Walkowinski. All right, thank you. And again, thank you all for being here today and for sharing your time and energy and skill. Next order of business is our land acknowledgement. The Sustainability Commission humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's Indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by Native descendants, border mountains sacred to Indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home. All right, next order of business is public comment. At this time, members of the public may address the commission on items that are not part of today's agenda. For items that are part of today's agenda, we do need to, we will wait until those agenda items come up. Please note that due to open meeting laws, the commission cannot address items that are not on today's, not on this meeting's agenda during this meeting. To comment at this time, please raise your hand in person if you're here or virtually if you're online, and we'll recognize you. Is there any public comment at this time?
I thought that one of our staff members was going to join, but I know what she was going to say, so I would like to make a public comment that, oh, is Sonoma going to? Maybe.
There she is.
Oh, do that.
Hi. Can you all hear me okay? Hi, Sonoma and I are calling in virtually from the office. So yeah, I'm Natalie Pearson. If it's okay to make a public comment, I would be happy to.
All right, well, now's the time. You have a couple minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to my comment today, and I appreciate all the work you all are doing. Today I wanted to pop in and say something about the community gardens because growing season is just around the corner. While we still have some snow on the ground, spring is coming, which is really exciting. And so with that in mind, we wanted to announce that plot applications for our community gardens will be opening on March 1st. And so returning gardeners who have gardened with us last season will have priority until April 1st to secure their plots. And then they will be offered to new gardeners after returning gardeners have secured their plot on a first come, first served basis after April 1st. This year we are having a new prioritization where new gardeners who do not have access to growing space at home or those who qualify for SNAP will be given priority through the application process. Additionally, community garden registration fees are $65 annually per plot to cover water expenses, infrastructure improvements, and provide resources to gardeners through the season. We have, however, full scholarships and half scholarships available to those who express need through the online plot application so that this fee is not a barrier. And so this plot application will be posted on our community gardens website, which I can put in the chat, or you can just look up flagstaff.az.gov/gardens, and it will be posted there on March 1st. We welcome everyone to join us in the gardens regardless of gardening experience. So feel free to reach out with any questions to gardens@flagstaffaz.gov. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any other community comments or public comments? All right, yeah, and thank you again for that. Seeing no other public comment, next up is approval of the January meeting minutes. Are there any is there any discussion to be had, or are there any notes or suggested modifications to January's meeting, or January commission meeting minutes?
I did notice, that the petition we're reviewing today, let's see. We talked about when Flagstaff First is going to be on the agenda at the city council, and that date was listed in the meeting minutes as this Thursday, which was correct when these minutes were drafted, but that date has moved. Tuesday, yes,
Yeah.
Tuesday. But that date has moved now to March 26th. And so I just wasn't sure if it was appropriate to change it in the minutes as a matter of record, or, because I mean, minutes are accurate, because that was the case when they were written, but it's different now. So,
Okay.
so
Yeah,
I was wondering about that.
yeah, we could probably make like a note in parentheses, like editor's note, since these minutes were recorded, the indicated meeting has been postponed to
The 26th.
March 26th. Yeah, I would be in favor of that.
Item D.
Okay. Are there any other are there any notes or suggested modifications?
I've noticed that there was some commentary about a fix-it weekend is coming up, and in this message, it says the fix-it weekend is the 10th. Is that a change also?
It did get rescheduled, yes.
Just as the same category, I guess.
Okay. Would it be, would you like, do you think we should make a similar?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's kind of the same, along the same order.
Okay. Are there any other notes? Would any, cool. So, I think we can make a motion to basically approve the minutes with the two suggested modifications or notes. Can we have a motion for that?
All motion.
Okay, we have a motion from, Commissioner Conkle. Can we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Metzger. So the motion on the floor is to approve the January meeting minutes with the two aforementioned modifications. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, please say no. The motion passes. Okay. January meeting minutes approved. Thank you all very much. Or approved with the suggested modifications. All right. Next order, and this is somewhat awkward to be announcing the item of business labeled appreciation for Chair Kevin White, but this is but I'm afraid that this is my last meeting as a at least for the moment as sustainability commissioner. But the good news, of course, which is that the city council has appointed replacements. And so we have 2 vacancies plus me who's term limited out. So I believe you'll be getting 3 new commissioners probably next month. So it's a little bit of a bittersweet moment for me because it's been, a pleasure and an honor to serve the city this way. I've learned a tremendous amount and made lots of good friends. I value all the time that I've spent with each of you. But I know that you'll be left in many people's good hands. Yeah, so what's going to happen from here? I believe Vice Chair Walkowinski will be running the meeting at least next month. I won't be up to me, but I suspect there will be an election for chair, and that's y'all's problem, not mine, I guess. But yeah, it really has been a pleasure and honor being able to serve the community in this position and to be able to work with each of you. So thank you.
Thanks.
May go ahead and say something. I've had the pleasure of working with Kevin since he joined the commission. And just for those that may be interested, Kevin has served the full terms that are allowed, 3 consecutive appointments. And so he's been with the commission for a fair amount of time, and
6 years.
yeah. And it's just been an absolute pleasure, and we so appreciate you and everything that you brought to the table and to the commission. And we've gone from the table literally down to the dais and back to the table, which is really welcome, because frankly, I feel that there's so much more cohesion as we get to sit around this table and really dive into topics and issues and actually get to know each other a little bit more, perhaps than the dais lends itself to. But just really want to thank you, Kevin. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and just really appreciate you stepping up and always showing up.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And you do have a card to give you by the end of the meeting.
We'll slyly pass it around under the table.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Since May, since I started with the city, and yeah, you'll be missed, and I'm super excited to see where you'll put your passion and energy next.
Thanks. Well, yeah, we'll see. I have decisions to make, but I'm gonna postpone those for at least a few weeks. I have a few things to look into. If I'm allowed to apply again after another year, we'll see what life.
So we'll see you again.
You might. We'll see what life looks like for me. We'll see what life looks like for me a year or two from now. Again, this feels awkward, but any other notes before we move on?
Yeah, I'm wondering what the rules are for if we wanted to plan like a little celebration, a happy hour.
Absolutely.
Do we have to
We can post a
quorum?
notice.
post a quorum notice?
Yeah, that there may be a quorum.
How do you feel about that, Jeremy?
We could do that.
All right.
After spring break,
Okay.
I can't do it before then.
Don't violate open meeting laws. That's what we have to make sure of.
Yeah.
I'll touch base with you over emails.
Cool. Yeah, I'd love to spend some time with y'all in a less formal setting. Yeah, and there's lots of events where we have to post quorums, or potential quorums, even aside from our meetings. For example, we have an Earth Day celebration coming up, and we might need to do something similar for that, and that commissioner might show up. Yeah. Anyway, well, thank you, everyone. I really do appreciate you all. All right, let's move on, because we do have a very packed meeting today. And the bulk of the rest of it is going to be taken up by another celebration of the people who have put blood, sweat, and tears, probably often literal, into sustainability grant projects for the last fiscal year. So these were the people who were basically awarded grants for the year before last, and spent the last year working on building projects with the money that was provided for those grants. Watching these is, one of the funnest things for us as commissioners, because it's always really wonderful to see where these projects have gone. So I have each of these presentations, I am going to be timing them, because we are in a limited schedule. We have budgeted about 6 minutes per presentation, plus about a minute for, I'm going to grab a drink while I say this. So about 6 minutes per presentation, plus a minute for questions. And I'm going to do this in the somewhat arbitrary order of the order that they're listed on the agenda. So first up would be Flagstaff Flyers. We have a representative from Flagstaff Flyers here today.
All right, that'd be me.
All right, thank you. The floor is yours.
Well, I'm Tyler Nilsson. I'm the executive director of the Flagstaff Youth Riders, also more commonly known as the Flyers. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization focused mostly on mountain biking, but youth development and youth cycling. Our project was the Puente de Ocho Bike Park. This is a neat little illustration that gives kind of a little layout of what is at the bike park. It exists to the west of the elementary school building, just in FUSD land that's off to the west of the building there. And so it consists of 2 flow trails There's a skills area and some wooden features in the skills area pump track. And there's also a 1 mile long loop trail that circumnavigates the whole area. Pay particular attention to this bike hub area. And then kind of on the right here, right in here, what's not depicted is a storage container. And in that storage container, it's filled with bikes that we use for our school programs at Puente and other various schools. And also these wooden drops here. Yes, we'll go to the next slide. We completed the bike park in 2022 through a partnership between Flyers, FUSD, and Flagline Trails. And the goals of the sustainability grant project were to improve upon the bike park, help make it become more sustainable, add a nice clean picnic space, and some more features to the bike park, and involve and engage the community. And then the next slide is what we were able to accomplish through the sustainability grant project. We created a sustainable clean picnic space with picnic tables and a bike rack. We removed invasive Scotch thistle on 4 different volunteer days, added a couple of wooden rollers and a teeter-totter to the bike park, and we built a fun new little section of trail that comes off of that mile loop trail. It's like it comes off in one spot and joins in another spot and weaves through the trees, and the kids have a lot of fun practicing cornering and steering through there. We added a bunch of new signs to the bike park, and we provided some crucial maintenance to the bike park as well. And then on the next slide, we'll see weeds are everywhere here. So invasive weeds and Scotch thistle is a huge problem at the bike park. So this is the bike hub area that I was talking about in the storage container. This is actually a mild picture. These weeds can get in the spring like 2 to 3 feet high. Actually, before we started the bike park, this whole area was covered with Scotch thistle that's about this high. Oh. These solar panels, when they put in these solar panels, they had dirt piles all over, and that's what we thought would be a great idea, to use the dirt piles to construct the flow lines and other features throughout the bike park. However, the dirt piles were covered with thistle seed. So everywhere that the dirt went, the Scotch thistle went, and that has popped up all over the bike park. So weeds is obviously, we know anytime there's construction, weeds are going to pop up. But now we not only have weeds, but we have the invasive Scotch thistle to try and deal with and control as well. So on the next slide, we'll see the same. This is what we were able to do here. There's a lot of branches and such throughout the bike park project that we were able to chip, and we got a whole bunch of chips that we were able to lay down. We put some weed barrier and some chips all the way down throughout this area, so we have a nice, clean, hopefully sustainable space to help get that thistle under control right there. Added a couple 8-foot aluminum tables and a bike rack back there that holds 10 bikes. And then on the next slide there, these are those little wooden features. You can see the weeds are growing everywhere. Here's a close-up of the Scotch thistle, what that looks like, but it can actually, if you let it go, it can, and it's got clubs on it. It can be 2 to 3 feet high. It's just nasty. And it was all over the place. So that's kind of one of the biggest things, is trying to get that under control so we can actually have a nice clean bike park and not look like this. So, and then the next slide, once we clean it out, this is what it should look like, and kids can enjoy it without having to worry about Scotch thistle. This is the pump track right here. And you can see some kind of weeds on the side, some weeds on the side, but the thistle was actually kind of growing in and out throughout there. So we did this, all the building installation of the features, all the manual removal. We manually removed all the Scotch thistle. It happened pretty much mostly through volunteer engagement. We had a little bit of Flyer staff that helped out, but it was mostly all a volunteer effort. And then on the next slide, we will see that some kiddos in our program and other people putting in the new trail there. There's a sign of the Hochschild Loop Trail, and we did that, and a number of other signs to help delineate the loop trail better so they could see where it is, and some other signs to show what features are up. And then on the last page, you'll see some of the features. There's one of our kiddos in our program testing out the new teeter-totter that we built. And these are 2 of the new rollers that we put in right next to these skinnies there. And this is the same, you can see the storage container there. This is the same area, but now cleaner. And this is what we would prefer it to look like, and that as well, without all the weeds and the Scotch thistle. So that's, in terms of challenges for this project, that's going to be one of the biggest challenges forward. Like if we try and manually remove it, it's going to be a process that we're going to keep having to go back to time and time again. And we engage kids in our program and try and make it a learning experience as well, but it's going to be an ongoing process. So that's all I have for my presentation. I don't know how much time I'm at.
I assume the goats
Right
don't
on
like
time.
touch this one.
Are there any questions?
I asked him if goats liked Scotch thistle. Yeah, no, they don't.
I'm not sure on that.
You should think about it. They're a good option.
Maybe they do.
Yeah.
I don't know. They eat all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. They eat cans, supposedly, so there you go.
I think they have to be just very small, like before they get really thorny.
Yeah, because
Oh.
like in the small, the
And they get
spruces,
them
but when they
out.
get clubs on them, I don't think anything wants to mess with those.
So while they're small, get those goats out there.
Yeah,
I have a question.
yeah.
Do you track use of the park or is it just open to use all the time? How does it look for access?
It's open anytime school's not in session, so the whole public can access it anytime outside of school hours. We don't necessarily track it, however, we can track it through our own usage of the park because we have programs that utilize it pretty much Monday through Thursday when we're going. We'll have 1 to 2 groups of 10 to 20 kids on any given day there. So there's literally hundreds of kids a week that use the park just for our own programs.
Awesome,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you very much. That was great. Yeah. All right, next up, we have Flagstaff Food Link.
My timer too, because, yeah. All right, thank you so much for having me this evening. My name is Melissa Ekstrom. I'm a board member of Flagstaff Food Link. And we really enjoyed doing our neighborhood sustainability grant this year or last year. And it was titled Building Community Through Food. And you could go to the next slide, please. If you're not familiar with Flagstaff Food Link, which I hope you are, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and our mission is to support local growers in cultivating a just and sustainable community food system. Next slide, please. All right, so really the goal of this grant was to have a whole bunch of workshops and community events, and we did them quarterly. So each quarter we had a community event, each quarter we had a workshop that was for the community. They're all related to food, let it be, sustainable growing, backyard growing, all sorts of things. And we're going to go into them all. If you could go to the next slide, please. So here's the grand list. I'm not going to read them all because I have a little bit on each. I'm going to be talking really fast at you, so let me know if I need to slow down. But yes, we accomplished a lot. I'm really proud of this grant and what we were able to do. Next slide, please. Our first community workshop was called Marketing for Growers. We partnered with Willow Bend Center, which we use for the space, and Forestdale Farms, a local farmer here of local growers. And basically this workshop was for people to come and learn more about the marketing side of agriculture. It's kind of a less explored side, or you could say less sexy side of agriculture, but very important. So if it was in the winter, so looking at what they're going to grow in the spring or summer, they can kind of think of, what should I grow in Flagstaff? So that was a really successful workshop, and we were very happy with it. Our potluck, that was the community event for this quarter, happened after it, and I forgot to take a picture, but I pictured through everything else, but it was a lovely potluck.
That's why I
Yeah. Next community event was our seed swap in partnership with the Extension Office and also Willow Bend. It was a 3-hour event, and we had over 75 people pass through. So a seed swap is where we just put a whole bunch of free seeds, and the community can bring their seeds and you swap them. So people were able to get seeds for their gardens. This happened in April, and we already have a date for this year. So that workshop or that event will continue on. Next slide, please. All right, our second community workshop was starting seeds and season extension in a short growing season. So here in Flagstaff, we have a very short growing season. You kind of need to extend your season, let it be a hoop house, a greenhouse, and you have to start seeds too for a lot of our crops. So in this workshop, our board member Fritz actually led this one out at Colton Community Garden, which is part of the Museum of Northern Arizona. A big partner on this project. You'll see a lot of our photos are from out there. But we learned how to mix our own soil. We rolled newspaper pots and planted seeds in them. Not pictured here is on the cover photo. They actually built a season extender in the workshop, and we raffled it off at a different event. So it was a really fun workshop, very successful, very packed, and everyone got to bring a tray of seedlings home as part of it. All right, next slide, please. All right, it just keeps going. Community event number 3 is our Harvest Festival, also paired with the Indigenous or the Native Americans Farmers Market. And at this event, we had native growers come and sell their crops. We had the oven cooking pizzas. Ryan was running that nonstop, right? And we had a lot of community partners out there tabling, running kids events. And this was also at Colton Community Garden. It was very successful. We had over 400 people pass through there during the event. So that gives us a big amount of our numbers on our final reporting. All right, next slide, please. All right, I don't know why we made this workshop so long and its title, but it's basically a seed saving workshop. Yeah, and again, at the beautiful Colton Community Garden, I mean, what can get better than that? The sunflowers, we have this nice little shaded area, and it was just a packed workshop. We had like double the amount of people on the wait list than we can even have there. So we're just like packing people in as much as we could. So we know that these workshops are desired in this community. So seed saving, we learned about saving beans, tomatoes, why do we seed save, and just like local varieties that you can seed save. And it was a really lovely workshop. Kate from Wild Heart Farm helped run that one, and also Bill McNormand from, he does something called Seed School in a Day, so he joined us. All right, next slide, please. Oh, I'm doing great. All right, community event, we had our fruit tree project cleaning day. We didn't know if we'd have a great apple year when we planned this grant, but it was a bumper crop of apples. So we actually partnered unexpectedly with the Continental Country Club on this project because they had so many loaded trees out on their properties. So we went out once on our cleaning day, but then we hosted multiple ones after that, where people went out on their own because they just had so many apples. And we had our day, but then we also lent out our pickers to whoever wanted to use them, and we still will do that as we go on. Next slide, please. What are we going to do about those apples? Well, we had a processing workshop where we pressed cider, we made applesauce, we made apple cider vinegar, and we made apple butter. Yep. All right, next slide, please. Have to squeeze the last few things in. All right, things to celebrate. So many partners, new and old. We reached over 650 community members. We diverted apples and other fruit from going to the landfill through our cleaning days. And we had a lot of positive feedback, both verbally and written. We didn't do any like official, surveys or anything, but we just got a lot of positive feedback for all these workshops that we did. And then I also wanted to enter challenges. That's my last slide. Free RSVP events are challenging. We bought materials for the events, so we did need a RSVP. So that could be sometimes frustrating when you want it to be 100% full and it's 95% full. So that's just a common Flagstaff struggle. And then weather. This is when it started to rain during the seed saving thing. We all huddled and watched for lightning and just finished it. And it was lovely. No lightning. So that's it. It was a whole lot. Thank you. And any questions?
Website so that I can tell my friends about you.
Yes.
I'm assuming you're going to do a lot of this stuff in the next
Yeah,
future.
flagstafffoodlink.com. Great. I don't know why we didn't pick .org, but.
And you said you have a date already for the next seed swap?
Yep, so that's gonna be March 24th at the East Side Community Library, Public Library.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
That was wonderful.
Yeah, have a great rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks. Go to bye.
Presentation.
Thank you. All right, next up is the Arboretum.
All right.
So I'm Gina. I'm the greenhouse manager at the Arboretum, and we are also a 501c3 nonprofit that I don't have our mission statement memorized because it's super long, but just trying to get people to understand and appreciate the plants and people of the Colorado Plateau, give or take, something like that. Yeah. Next slide. Our goals for this project were essentially to grow more plants for our plant sales and our plant nursery. I definitely believe that at a time when monocultures are kind of taking over the country and a lot of species of wildlife and pollinators are on the decline, getting native plants into people's hands to plant in their yards is super important for our community, just to simply expand the amount of flowers we have in Flagstaff. My other goal was to increase production in our vegetable garden, which, next slide, was tragic. Yeah, June 25th was a very tragic day for me. This is where the tears of the blood, sweat, and tears came in. Yeah, the Arboretum is really cold, so it was definitely deep freeze. It got down to 18 degrees for 8 hours, which even with row covers, it's just not gonna happen for us. So, and then it was super hot and dry and the monsoons did not come. So it was not a good season, which for the record, I did put this in the challenges section of the grant application. So I think, you know, we're a little covered there, but even some of our super established native plants, like the milkweed bed that we have, like totally zapped. It was really, really sad. But one pro was obviously we planted the vegetable garden. So I partnered up with one of our community partners, the Michael Moore Medicinal Garden, and we planted so many plants. I was so excited, so full of hope. But yeah, this was definitely not the best outcome. But on a more positive note, next slide. We still had many wins. So I grew a ton of plants. It was awesome. I could not have done it without the help of this grant. So that was really, really great. And that's my dog, Ruka.
Someone else was happy there.
Next slide. So one of the big things that we use the money on is soil. And this is March at the Arboretum. This is like late March of this last year. It was nuts. I had to sled the soil to the greenhouse. A task. But yeah, sterile soil is super important in greenhouses. So it's necessary and it's not cheap. So thank you very much for that. Next slide. Organic pest control and fertilizer. So I could not find, I have like a really epic picture of aphids all over the spencement, but I couldn't find it. So this is the best I've got, which is whitefly. But no matter, that greenhouse has been around for like 30 years. So the pests have really established themselves. So I have to use organic oils to keep that under control. And I also use seaweed fertilizer on a weekly basis, just to keep plants looking awesome like this one. Right there. Next slide. And I use the remainder of the money on staff. So I have an assistant and definitely need one to grow all the plants that we grow. And see, we did grow carrots in the sad garden back there. We did grow something. But yeah, as you know, anybody that owns a business or runs a business or manages a business in Flagstaff knows that paying people is a really high cost. And that's definitely one of our biggest, I guess, money sucks at the Arboretum. So having just a little bit of assistance with that is huge. Next slide. So this is our dump truck all loaded up with plants to go to the Master Gardener plant sale. That was another community partner event that was huge for us and really awesome for all the growers. We're really, really grateful for that. And yeah, look at all those plants. Next slide. Yeah, so again, with the soil, I can't emphasize that enough. Having that cost relief for us is really big. And yeah, we hope to continue to grow in many years. And thank you if you came out and bought plants from us.
I just want to say Flagstaff is so proud of you. The Arboretum.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Such a wonderful part of our
It's-
community.
We definitely, Francis picked an interesting location for it, I'll say. We work with it.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. Next up then is Arizona Cooperative Extension.
Hey, hi, everybody. I'm going to use a timer too. I'm probably going to talk really fast like Melissa did. I used your money for a horticultural therapy program at Killup Elementary. Go to the next slide. Oh, and I guess, do you guys know who Arizona Extension is? Okay, Well, so our mission is to bring the science and the resources of the university out to the people of Arizona. So each county has an office. So I'm an extension agent for Coconino County.
But it's the University of Arizona. When you say Arizona, you're not talking about the state of Arizona. You're
It's
talking
the U of A. Mhm. So what is horticultural therapy? In short, it's connecting people with plants to improve lives. Next slide. And how do we do this? So it's very different from gardening because you're extremely intentional with what you're doing, right? So you're using the plant as a therapeutic modality. And once you have your plan, you document it. So I got together with Cheryl Wells and the school counselor at Killip, and we defined some programmatic goals because Killip went through a lot, right? The kids went through a lot. They were displaced, the flooding, the pandemic. So we wanted to improve the overall well-being of youth, improve their social and emotional skills, and instill a sense of responsibility in them. So how do we meet our long-term programmatic goals? We did that with each session. So we had measurable session objectives, and these were the short-term objectives. So to match our programmatic goals, we would, youth will show improvement in mood pre and post session. So that speaks to number one. Youth will work cooperatively for 10 minutes during session, and youth will participate in one helping activity each session. So all of these objectives were to help meet these long-term goals. So you can go next. Here's how we did it. Here are just a few of the session activities that we did. And so we created a green space for the kids because we started in January. And this is what it looked like outside last year in January, right? So you might be thinking, how can you do gardening and horticultural therapy in the winter in Flagstaff? Well, it's possible. You can go to the next slide. Some of our activities included watering. So here comes the part where you're intentional with your planning. I had one water meter. Do you think all the kids wanted to use it? Yes. So one person got to use the water meter, and then that person would communicate with the others about which plants needed water. And then they shared it. So here you're doing sharing, you're working together, you're communicating, and you're helping. Next slide. Plant adaptations. This was another lesson that we did, and this was on resiliency. And I just took lessons from our native plants who are very tough and resilient and have all of these special adaptations. And the kids learned that you can adapt to some pretty tough situations, just like our plants did. And then we did kind of a prompt lesson where I would say, instead of, I'm not good at this, I would prompt them and they would say things like, well, I'll keep trying. Or I prompted them and said, instead of, I messed up, they said, mistakes help me learn. So that's a valuable lesson. This is actually the session that KNAU did a story on, and then it aired nationally. It got picked up by All Things Considered the very next week, which was really cool. So you can go next. We did lessons in mindfulness. So here the kids had these were sun catchers that we did with dried flowers. Here it's very, the flowers they're very fragile. So they had to be very present and stay focused to make their little sun catcher mandalas. And I taught them about mandalas, and they made those and got to take them home. Next. I had a public health intern from CDC, so our CDC funded through NAU and AmeriCorps. So this was one of our partnerships that we had. So we made a really great team. This is Joanna Mona. I would come in and I would teach the kids what parts of the plant that they could be eating. And then the next lesson, Joanna came in and did a nutrition lesson with each of the plant parts that we talked about. Next slide. So that was in the winter, and once we could get outside, we did some gardening outdoors. This little girl was in the gardening club the whole time, and by the end, she was able to teach her fellow students how to transplant a plant. It was really sweet. We built friendships. We learned new plants. So this was the day that we planted a bunch of bulbs, and the kids were so excited about bulbs. And then here are some kids working together, planting some fall crops. Next. So the inputs we had your grant, but it was also matched by, well, not matched, like you think of when you think of grants, but we were also awarded a grant by Flagstaff Food Link. It took my time. We had a registered horticultural therapist with us. We had 128 contributed volunteer hours by master gardeners. And then we had 32 hours from Joanna Mona. The outputs are, we had 4 8-week programs delivered that served 35 students. I developed one curriculum for horticultural therapy. I did study it as well. I'm very close to becoming registered. We had 2 stories on NPR and 1 story in the Arizona Daily Sun. You can go next. So here are our outcomes and impacts. 97% of sessions improved mood for students, and that was simple to document. So they were feeling good, not so good, bad, and we did that pre and post. So that's how we got that data. And all the session objectives were met or partially met. So here are the things that students learned to do. Some of the qualitative data that we got was I learned about plants and nutrients, or I learned about nutrients for people and plants. I get so excited about gardening club, I could just scream. I learned how to be kind to plants and to people. And we can go to the next slide because I think we're almost done. And here are our partners. So we had NAU Public Health. We had 4 master gardeners. Chelsea Thomas from Plantage sold us plants at wholesale, which was awesome. Misty Warner also sold us some materials at wholesale too. Green Schoolyards Team Flagstaff helped with this. Actually, they're the whole catalyst that got this program going, which is awesome. Flag Food Link, thanks Melissa, I know you're gone. And Pam Catlin, who's a registered horticultural therapist down in Prescott. Next. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay. We only have just a couple seconds for questions, but are there any?
No, I just want to tell her thank you because I'm from Pillows.
Um,
And I just have a comment. I actually teach at NAU in public health. It's really nice to see the full circle of
Yes.
what the city's doing with the grant, how it's working in the community, ties back to student learning. So thanks for. supporting her.
Yes, I actually just hired Joanna.
Oh my gosh, that's
I know,
amazing.
so excited.
Perfect. So maybe that answers my question. Will it continue?
Yep, so I'll have Joanna coming back, and then I have an AmeriCorps intern, so they'll take that curriculum that I created, and then, and all the documentation, we can get all the data, and they're trained up, and we'll keep it going. And we didn't really have any challenges, it was just such a great community effort, we had lots of help, so it was really cool.
We have some pretty great kids too.
Yeah, they were really good. The beat, lipstick.
35. 35? I did get to see 35 in there though. Was that at different times? There were 35 students?
Yeah, on average, there were like 8 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, 35 at once, I don't think my hair would be a lot more gray.
Well, there's some elementary school teachers that do that.
Yeah, I know.
All right, well, thank you very much. Yeah. All right, next up is Flagstaff Disc Golf Club.
Right, we like you too.
It's working. Yeah.
Chair White, esteemed members of the Sustainability Committee. It is our honor to report to you on the grant that you guys gave to us last year on the bike racks in Thorpe Park and in McPherson Park. My name is Daniel Krim. I'm a member at large of the Flagstaff Disc Golf Club, and Alex Stone, president of Flagstaff Disc Golf Club. I think this story needs a little bit of context. Next slide, please. July of last year was the culmination of a lot of hard work for the Disc Golf Club. We hosted the World Championships here in Flagstaff. You might have read about it in the newspaper or heard about it. And it was a big undertaking. And we were granted this by the PDGA after attempting to get this event for multiple times. That's my theme music.
Sorry.
And in getting this, we kind of set some themes, and a few of our themes were sustainability, showing the world. I mean, there was over 1,000 competitors coming from all over the world. And so we wanted to show Flagstaff sustainability, and we wanted to show our local flavor. And we also wanted to show, and we also wanted to emphasize, go to the next slide. That in 2003, we had done the same thing. It was the 20-year anniversary. So 20 years, sustainability, and keeping it local. The person in charge of the tournament director, Bill Block, he's kind of a father figure in the club. He set out different groups to kind of work on the tournament. And one of the groups was sustainability, and one of the groups was volunteers. I ran the volunteers. Another one of the groups was courses, getting our courses in shape. That was run by Josh McNaughton, and just subgroups. Well, the person who was in charge of sustainability found a grant, a $5,000 grant offered by the Sustainability Commission, and said, hey, can we apply for this? And we thought, gosh, are we too overloaded to do this? But we have some really good ideas for our courses. Should we go for it, or should we hold off? And we thought, all the momentum is on our side. Let's go for it. So we applied for the grant. If you go down to the next slide, that was our project goal. And this is something that we wanted for a long time, because we see people ride their bike to the course and lock their bike up to a tree. And we're like, come on, we can do better than this. Especially with our goals for zero emissions in 12 years from now or something like that. Like our disc golf scene really wants to be a part of that. So next slide, please. We put in our grant proposal that we want the equipment that will be installed to be in use for at least the next 20 years. Keeping in line with our 20-year theme, hey, we got themes going on. Next slide, please. You said in your publicity, in your press release, that you were excited to announce that we had gotten. You think you were excited? Next slide, please. And then came, you guys had submitted a list of questions to us, and we had responded to them. In response to them, we reached out to one of our partners, the city parks. We have a great relationship with them. I didn't know how great. They offered to provide in-kind services to install the bike racks. This was like a turning point. Like, you talk about momentum. We had all the momentum on our side now. And this guy, Martin, I don't know who here knows a Martin. Oh my gosh. You guys need to double this guy's pay. He's really, really good. He's the multimodal transportation planner. And if anyone's going to drive the emissions down in this city, it's this guy. And he saved our butts. Am I allowed to say that? I know a couple of those guys.
Some of those thumbnails look like they say yes.
Keep going down. One more. I did not know this. There's a guidelines for bicycle parking. Okay. Keep going down. This single graphic that he pointed out to us eliminated our top 5 design choices. So we just scratch what we're doing. Thank you, Martin. Keep going down. I got one more contribution by Martin. Hi, Daniel. We do a lot of things in untreated steel that is left to rust. Fence fencing, signing, etc. It's kind of our go-to aesthetic. And like you say, it fits in well with the forest. I think it's fine for bike racks. Oh, go for it. I mean, great guidance all the way through. Thank you, Martin. One more. Keep it local. Before I get into Mayorgas, 2 huge shouts out. The person who was in charge of sustainability for the club, her name is Karen Hendricks. And the person who was working on courses and worked with me on this grant as well was Josh McNaughton. And those 2 people were instrumental every step of the way. We approached Mayorgas Welding. They've been in town since 1963. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mayorgas, but they are fantastic to work with. They were very enthusiastic about the project. They helped us with design, and we took their pricing and we compared it to the online vendors that the city has used for bike racks in the past, and they beat those guys hands down. And so we knew we were in the right place. We worked with Mayorgas Welding. Go down one slide. Yes, this is what hardcore design looks like in the this is a Post-it note. I did circulate this. It was approved. Keep going down. June 1st. You're going a little too fast. You're a little. June 1st, 2023. You're like,
He's timing it.
was a big day for us. We found out that the bike racks that we had manufactured were humongous. And the city's like, yeah, we'll install them. And no problem, we'll pick them up. Go down one slide. June 1st, 2023. You see them there?
Oh, man.
Yeah, huge. And they went and picked them up, did the entire installation. Yeah, great work by these guys. This was a big day for us. Keep going down once more, please. More sustainability. We get through this day and we realize we have almost $1,000 left on our grant due to the fact that they did the installation for us and Mayorgas gave us a great price. And we thought, can we keep the momentum going? Can we actually do more? We approached you guys. I don't know if you remember that Karen came and talked to you guys about doing some benches, some park benches in McPherson and at Thorpe. Once more, please. AP Sawmill, our local sawmill. And if you want to keep going one more, if you want to keep it local, it doesn't get any more local than slabs of Ponderosa pine. And that's what these are made out of. I'll call them custom, but that sounds expensive. It's custom because it's ours and it's Ponderosa pine and it's going to last forever. And that was really our goal in this whole thing. One more, please. 6. The double click. You did the double click on me again. 6 brand new parking spots for bicycles. And I think these turned out beautifully. And one more, please. 6 brand new Ponderosa pine benches on our courses. One more. When we responded to the original questions that you guys had for us, we said that we would make sure to spread the word. And I said in our letter, we said, and of course, a ribbon cutting ceremony would be in order. We would surely make a special day of it in late spring / early summer. We way overshot that. We had the World Championships in July. One more. So we went for October. We had a day of it. We had some pizza. We had some a fun round beforehand. And keep going. Of course, we had to keep it local because that's one of our themes. Sustainability, 20 years, keep it local. Had some one more. Had some Fratelli's pizza out there. One more. There they are. They turned out great. And and the disc golfers have really responded. We see more bike riding, not so much in the last month, but we have seen an uptick in bicycle folks at our courses. Keep going down one more. You probably recognize Steve from your office.
Sure do.
Steve dominated the putting contest and did win a disc on that day. One more, please. And in 20 years from now, we hope to host another world championship. And when we do, we hope to still be thanking you guys with this nice little placard that we put on both the bike racks.
That was
Thank you so much. Any questions? I bet we went over our time.
A little bit. We're ahead of, we're still ahead of schedule overall, so we're okay.
I just have a comment. I think it's great that you were able to manufacture extra budget by partnering with the city for installation and going local. And I'm really impressed that you're able to do so much with $5,000.
Well, and I really do appreciate that. And the reason for that is because the disc golf community has this idea that we are stewards of the small plots of land that we've been given. We've been given Tut Hill, we've been given a little bit at an AU, we've been given a couple of city plots of land. And you will see if someone drops a can on the course, everybody's like, hey, what are you doing? This is ours, man. Pick that up. So I think it's a culture of taking care of what we have. And that's led to the city being like, you want it, we'll help you. So thank you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, yeah, thank you very much. Next up is, I believe, a virtual presentation from Killip Elementary School.
Oh, I'm actually here.
Oh, cool, okay, this says virtual, but I'm glad you're here.
I know, we had a meeting that stopped early today, so I'm really glad, because then I got to see Gail in person. And when it comes up, you will see we are at an elementary school. Yep, so our goal is gardening and food production. And we are so lucky to have Galen, the Cooperative Extension, right next door. So you'll see that we ask for her advice a lot, and we do have the Master Gardener program too that helps us out. Next one. So these were our project goals. The main ones were year-round production of food and extending our learning spaces so that we have a short growing season here in Flagstaff. So we wanted to make sure we could grow inside. And you'll see that a big part of that included a greenhouse. But look at the other parts there too. Next slide. Is our major challenge, that's kind of, it's raining on our parade there, is we have not had our greenhouse constructed yet. Red tape, I'm not going to go into it anymore on that one, but we didn't let that get us down, didn't let it stop us. So we continued to focus on our goals in our garden that we have, that we're in our second year at our new school. When we started, it was all just gravel. Yeah, so we're working on that. And we worked with the Neighborhood Sustainability Grant staff, which I thank them so much, and our community partners to look at alternatives. And so I think there's one budget item that we kept the same. So I really appreciate the flexibility. Next one. So one of the things that we switched was in the greenhouse, we were looking at having water in the greenhouse, being able to water the plants in there, looking at hydroponic systems inside. But we thought, why don't we switch to making sure that our garden outside is sustainable too? So with the expertise of Gail, making sure that we got the right drip irrigation system, and we just got that stored today, and Werner's is going to be helping us put that in, and we'll probably have some of our older students help out with that too. And that way we're not wasting as much water,
using the hose or the watering cans all the time, even though the kids love it. Next one. And so again, and I see Summer White is on here, with Summer White's recommendation and with Gail's, we wanted to make sure that we had a secure place to keep things too and to keep them organized. So we have this amazing tough shed now in our garden, which we were able to get all of our potting soil, our raised bed soil in there before the huge snow. So it's safe in there. We have our irrigation supplies in there. We have our watering cans that every time the wind picks up are all over the garden, are in there now instead of all over the garden. Yeah, and we're looking forward to the kids organizing the tools in there so they can reach them more. Because right now we have some temporary, you can see the edge there, but it's all storage where things are in there horizontal. So you kind of have to dig through. Next one. So we also looked at what could we use for harvesting and food prep. So we got all of these great bus bins so that we can keep those for food. And we have an outdoor sink that will be installed so that we can work on harvesting and cleaning all of that outside and really have the kids a part of it. And you can tell from Yale's presentation and mine, our kids love growing things. It's just, and it is very therapeutic. I was telling Gail, a lot of the kids that were in her class, I see a change in this year. Next one. And so we couldn't get the hydroponics inside of the greenhouse because we didn't have a greenhouse. But luckily, just like some of you others, you found some other funding sources. So we were able to partner with Terra Birds, who's helped us in the garden, and also the Coconino County Education Service Agency. And we have 4 of these amazing lettuce grow farm stands inside, and the kids love growing there. They're putting the water inside. The older kids are working on taking the pH levels and checking all the nutrients that are needed. So we still were able to grow inside. And we had at least one harvest last year where we were able to supply salad for our school salad bar. Ooh. And so our goal this year is to have even more. Yeah, next one. And this was our budget. The one item that was the same was that outdoor sink that was going to be in our greenhouse. But we got those bus bins. The large parts of our budget were with irrigation and then with the tough shed because we wanted something that was sustainable. In our old garden at our old school, we had a storage shed that just fell apart. So we wanted something that's going to last for our community. And then looking at the harvesting with the students, we decided to buy some scissors that are specifically for harvesting so we don't have glue stick stuff all over those and make sure that we talk about hygiene. So we have $3.07 left if you can use that for seeds or something else. Next one. And just a big thank you. You can see, you know, just the joy of the kids when they're able to harvest either inside or outside. He's got some little tiny potatoes there. And all of the harvest that we have been doing, just again, just a big thank you for everything you do for the community and for your flexibility, letting us problem solve.
Thank you for all you do for the children. Thank you.
It's fun. Oh, and my name is Cheryl Wells. I'm the STEM coordinator, and I am the luckiest person at Killup because I get to work with preschool through 5th grade. The only one that gets to do that, work with all the kids and all the teachers. So it's pretty good. And I get to work with the amazing community.
Thank you very much. Questions?
What do you do with your food? You said you supply the school with lettuce, but for example, all the food in those bins.
Yeah, and so a lot of these went to kindergarten. They were working on, I I can't remember the project, but they made potato salad with those. But then a lot of the greens and the other things we send home with the students. Yeah. And then when we have enough, we supply the salad bar. But the whole thing is, and the cooperative extension is helping us to try to increase the harvest so that we can get more out, and hopefully we can have like community. We used to have the mobile food bank at our school, and before COVID, we could take what was in the garden and put it out with that. So we'll figure out another way that we can send that home.
Any other questions? Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Next up is a representative from Townsite Urban Farms.
You guys can.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Shelley Day, and this.
And I'm Greg Capareso.
And we're with Townsite Urban Farm. We're co-directors of this project. And Townsite Urban Farm, I'm gonna use notes because I will forget everything if I don't. So.
I don't know why it hasn't.
Oh, that's okay. I'll just go ahead and start. We're a small scale cooperative urban farm in the historic neighborhood of Townsite. And we aim to promote a resilient community network through permaculture principles, collaborative learning, and social connectivity. And our project under this grant was to build community resilience through access, education, and connection. We did all sorts of things with the money. We wanted to double our capacity to host gardeners. The previous year, we'd had 4 in more of a community garden style setup. And if you want to go to the next slide, I can't actually remember what's on each slide, so hopefully it corresponds with what I'm saying. But we actually kind of pivoted on our model this year and did it more of cooperative style, and we're able to host more than 30 different people at the site by combining efforts and doing the work together rather than plotting the space. And so just some fun pictures. I mean, this was like a normal volunteer day where you would have, we'd have maybe 1 volunteer show up to, 15 people show up. And it was very festive. We actually originally, when we asked for the grant money, we're hoping to be able to employ an intern, and came back to you guys after we received grant funding through University of Arizona's Agriculture Workforce Development Program. And we're able to use that money to have Sydney Rittershouse be our intern, which has been a game changer. She's phenomenal, and she's been with us. It will be a year in May. And just her getting the engagement was really able to make this money go even further, I will say. And before we move on, we'll just jump all around. But one of the pieces that we changed once we were able to fund Sydney through U of A, we asked if we could increase our budget for rainwater harvesting, and which y'all are nice to let us do. I think we have a good picture of the before. Yeah. Okay, but this is the after. See familiar faces in that picture. But if you'll go, sorry, go back. Sorry. This was post install of the 2,500 gallon tank, which because of where we're located,
had to go over a 6-foot fence.
Everybody's standing in front of it, you can't see it.
Yeah, you'll see, we were very proud of ourselves for getting that over a 6-foot fence. We did get insurance after that. So we're like, I should be insuring any activities on here. But yeah, nobody was injured, so that was amazing. So if you want to go to the next slide. And also, we were, because of just the level of engagement, we wanted to host more workshops. The year before, we had hosted 2 events. We wanted to double that this year, and we were able to actually host, this was the Arizona Mushroom Company out of Payson. They came and hosted and shared with everyone how to grow lobster mushrooms. Is that right?
No.
Pink oysters.
Pink oysters.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to get that wrong. We collaborated with Ryan on helping us with that idea and getting them on site for that event, which was a giant success. And we were actually, because so many people showed up and just donated, it was free to the community, but if you wanted to donate to support their time and travel, we covered their expenses for getting there and the supplies that everybody went home with. So that was very cool. We've been able to, let's see, oh, I have it here. We were a participant on the Master Gardener Tour. We hosted a workshop called Canning for People Who Can't Can. And we partnered with a local grower for that event. And we're currently hosting a winter book club because there was so much interest in the rainwater harvesting. We're going through the book by Brett Lancaster, which
yeah, sure. Yeah, so we're working through Brad Lancaster's book right now. We've got one more event. It's an amazing book. I would highly recommend it to everybody. And we kind of use this also as an opportunity to go down to Tucson and visit some rainwater harvesting sites that Brad recommends, and then also just his whole neighborhood is kind of a demonstration project in rainwater harvesting at this point. So we went down there with our book club, and we're now really like working on putting a lot of those ideas into practice at Townsite. And so that big water tank is part of it. We also are digging a rain garden. We didn't quite get done before the ground froze, but we'll be coming back to that in a little bit. But the idea is to create a spot that's going to be really supportive of native plants and probably a juniper tree that we'll plant back there. And so that's kind of our big goal right now is like over the next season or two, we want to transition completely away from using city water in the greenhouse and go all the way over to rainwater. And we have some partnerships that that we've set up now that are going to help with that.
And you can go to the next slide. And that kind of speaks to collaborations and community engagement. We have had many people on the property and everybody, contributing to these lofty ideas. And even the tank was made possible. I mean, our property is high to low, and so that's not super advantageous for
the downhill side.
Right. So, and all the growing space is high. So we looked around, and the only place we could really collect enough water to go in that tank was from the Salvation Army, which just is on the back end of the property. So we contacted them, and they're like, what are you? What do you want? I just want to take water off your roof. And finally they said yes. They said we could attach a gutter and take rainwater from them. And so that's nice. And if you want to go to the, and just to speak to what's been growing, squash, corn, beans, peas, watermelon, eggplant, tomatoes, potatoes, sunflowers, strawberries, raspberries, grapes, cauliflower, tomatillos, basil, parsley, dill, broccoli, zucchini, pumpkins. That's what we grew this year. With the help of everyone. And we've also been able to host FJA and the Outdoor Educators, the Elm Eradicators Club, and we are able to host Flagstaff Cooperative Preschool, which was adorable to have 30 tiny children going through the house. And they're going to actually come back this summer to do a summer camp. And then also, if you go to the next slide, with the money, we purchased these raised garden beds for out front. The idea there was to encourage conversation and interest in just the general community so they would know what was happening in the back and that it was a space that they were welcome in. Beyond expectations as far as the success, we have single pane windows in this historic home, so we could hear every conversation that happened around those beds, and it was remarkable. I mean, people would stop and talk about what their grandmother used to grow on Cherry Hill and what they grow now. And it was like the proverbial like water cooler of Elm Street, I guess. It was really cool. And if you went out, you were lonely and you just went out there and like played in the dirt, somebody would talk to you. Somebody would stop and talk to you if you were out there. And we're next to the high school. Not one watermelon was taken. I mean, we would welcome that. Next year we'll have signs like, hey, this is ready. You can take it. But nobody took anything. Nobody littered in it.
Yeah.
It was remarkable. That's the day that we, yeah, we got it over.
About 6.5, 7 feet tall in the middle.
Yeah.
Rolled it over the fence.
It was so fun. You should have seen it coming downtown in the back of the truck. It's so ridiculous. And then another piece that we use the money for is putting hard siding on the ends to make the growing season longer, because it came with, back in the day in 2020 when we built that thing, it was just that plastic that's going to degrade over time. So we're transitioning, and then with the help of the Food Link grant that we just received, we'll be able to do the sides as well. So it goes on. That's Fritz's partner, and they helped us with site planning and installation of those. And
Sorry, take about another 45 seconds.
I'm ready. Okay, last, I think this is a second to last. That's some of the little kids. Those are carrots that we got out of those front beds. Ongoing and future projects. We're currently working on a Northern Arizona food grower zine called The Beat, and that's a collaborative project. We're going to establish a community compost drop-off site, designated community welcome way, so it's a little clearer, like how people can enter. Salvation Army, working with Libby Miller at Flagstaff High School on a beautification collaboration, because we are against that back parking lot, which collects a lot of trash, and it just could be a nice joint project.
To the learning process.
Exactly, for the kids to engage in and take pride in their school. Rain garden and sidewalk, that we're working on the rainwater plan. And then we just recently adopted West Elm Avenue. So we're going to be, we're branching out. And next slide is just a thank you to all of you for funding and kind of believing in this unconventional idea, and also the 30+ people that show up over the growing season that just trust that makes sense, and that somehow this is going to make us all more resilient, which I think that once they show up, they believe it.
So you got a rainbow in your picture too.
Isn't that amazing? This is so cool. Yeah. Yeah. Inside we have like a little sign, and somebody, one of the frequent volunteers, it was like a list of to-dos, like always weed or whatever. And somebody wrote on the list of to-dos, don't be afraid to make this a family. And I was just like, you get it. You get it. Like, this is good for everybody. People come for different reasons. Growing food, learning something new, or just community. So it's working. Thank you.
So something really fun. Sydney is actually joining our office as our food system. Yes. She starts on Monday.
And she's amazing.
Yeah.
We're really excited.
Okay, and forgive me if I mispronounced this. Next is Marco Alatorre.
Marco, do I have your presentation?
I emailed you a link to those slides.
Okay, sure.
File. Yeah.
That's being found. We brought samples today. So the project is a bit of a mouthful, but the idea was that we wanted to create these biomass pellets and ultimately to make biochar out of it. And so we brought some samples. We can pass them around. Feel free to touch. I actually had somebody come by my house with showing samples, and he called it the petting zoo, and that was perfect because it gives you permission to touch. So this first one is actually just commercial wood pellets that you can get at a store. And then this one here is the pellets that we made out of pine needles. It's got a pretty rich aroma. The one that'll follow that will actually be biochar made from the commercial pellets. Biochar made from ours. And then the last two are kind of fun. We've started to play around with some blends. So we've got pellets made out of coffee, spent coffee grounds, and a blend of spent coffee grounds and pine needles.
Forgive my ignorance, but you use biochar.
Well, we'll get to that.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one that does it.
Oh,
yeah.
So my name is DC Alatorre. Marco's brother might be apparent by Co-conspirators on this project, but the project actually took place at Marco's house.
See in the background here, this is when we did a field trip for the local elementary school. They sent a class of first through third graders to come see what we were doing. And so this is us showing them our whole operation in my driveway.
Smell everything right here. Wafting.
Yeah, you can go to the next slide. So we'll start with kind of some of the objectives or some of the outcomes, if you will. So much of our goal was to think about firewising our communities, recognizing that pine needles on the ground represent vulnerability in our neighborhoods. That's just really dry tinder and fuel in the event should there be a wildfire that could make all of our homes in our entire neighborhood somewhat vulnerable. And so throughout our application, there's certainly a strong FireWise theme throughout. And ultimately, we ended up doing work at 5 homes. Some of these are ours, some of these are neighbors. Part of our goal was to really engage with our neighbors who are limited by mobility, recognizing that doing some of that work in their yard is really hard work. We've kind of done this informally in the past, just as a good way to be a neighbor, but we were like, we always put those pine needles, we always put that biomass on the curb and sent it away. And we're like, we can do something more interesting, more useful with this, and rather than just putting it on the curb, we wanted to develop a project. We also worked with that group of students that you saw to just FireWise public space. So this is the park that's in our neighborhood, right where the purple sort of heart is. And that group of students was about 30 students, teachers, and chaperones that showed up, and they picked up pine needles and then marched it over to Marco's house to be able to see the entire process. And all in all, we believe we diverted about 1,500 pounds of pine needles from the landfill. Which is a piece of sort of thinking about the impact of this. There's sort of lots of different layers, if you will. Next slide, please. Fit pictures from our workday. These were some of the bags that we got, but you can just see the total volume of pine needles. They just collect near fences, near homes, and things like that. If they're not taken care of, as we mentioned, there's a real vulnerability. We mentioned Hooray Walking Field Trip. We learned that the elementary school, they hadn't been on a field trip, none of their classes for the past 4 years, in part because of budgetary issues. Buses are expensive. Turns out by being able to provide a walking field trip, we had so many chaperones because they were like, wait, you're going to take my kid on a field trip? And they were just so excited. So it was almost like a one-to-one student adult ratio. It was kind of crazy. Next one. And so you get to see here some of those students working on the process. We had some pre-prepared stuff, but we also wanted them to be able to see the actual process of them taking the pine needles they collected, sort of reducing that volume, pulverizing it, and ultimately making pellets. So here's some of the students getting to pour in little pieces or little scoops into the pellet machine. So once it goes through there, we're collecting the pellets that they made in the buckets. Next slide. We had quite a lot of pellets pre-made, and we had the petting zoo available for the students to be able to see and kind of touch. As all of you who have done education pieces know, it's very tactile, very fun. Sort of your question though with the biochar, there's a lot of different applications for biochar that, and for those of you that have been in gardening projects, if any of you have any interest in biochar, we're starting to collect some. Have a significant volume, but among other things, it's got a huge surface area. It almost they say a teaspoon of biochar has the same surface area as a football field or something like that. So in drought-prone climates, applying biochar to soils can sequester carbon in the soils. It's not really by itself a fertilizer. It's not necessarily providing a lot in the way of nutrients, but it can be really helpful for water retention and kind of keeping things there. So people will find that you can use less water when you're applying biochar to soils. Next slide. So not actually our picture, but we actually think this is a pretty close representation of what 1,500 pounds of pine needles looks like. So we did get these sort of in sort of sequences and batches and such. So we never had all of our material piled in one fell swoop. But this was probably about the amount we wanted to give a visual image. Next one. So this was a delivery day. The machines that are needed in order to go from pine needles to pellets are sort of some shredders to like reduce the volume, but they're known as a hammer mill and a pellet mill. And you'll see those shortly. So next one. This one here is the hammer mill. You'll see, and that one over there is the pellet mill. They came, we disassembled the crates. We did have to assemble. They did not come with their cords ready. So we got to like figure out electrical work, put on a 240 volt cord. We had to attach the belts, and we had a lot of help from the foreman. So next slide, please. One of our challenges or setbacks, sort of early in the summer season when the pine needles were really starting to show up, and we were like, okay, we're going to ramp up. We turned on the hammer mill for the second time, and this thing actually lit on fire.
Oh my gosh.
So that is not what we were trying to char. And we got to learn that that's known as a starting capacitor. And again, back to our electrical skills. And we did a lot of diagnostics, and we do want to thank the team at Pellet Masters who sold us the equipment. They helped provide over the phone sort of technical support. We were able to diagnose, and ultimately they sent us a new motor for free when we were able to figure out that it wasn't just that the capacitor was bad, but that the vent had actually ruined the motor. Yeah, next one. We did pick up a lot of 55-gallon drums. We had in our application an idea for a drum dryer. Part of the process is wanting to get the biomass to the right moisture contents. And also for storage purposes. So we actually got these from squirrel nut butter because what this is coconut oil. And so we weren't really worried about what we were putting in there. A lot of times when you get 55-gallon drums, they were storing some nasty stuff. Silly little thing up there, that coconut oil there, these drums still had a lot of coconut oil, kind of like stuck on the bottom. And so we put our biochar stoves to use by making a hot water recirculating thing, just kind of being able to put hot water around the drums themselves, and then we were able to pop them out. So another plug, if anyone needs like 200 pounds of coconut oil, we have it.
You paid for it. That's really good.
So next one, please. So this is just kind of a how do you make pellets. So you've seen us collect. This is our shredder. This is really for volume reduction. You can tell these still look like pine needles, but when you put them in bags and things, there's a lot of air. It just makes storage a lot easier to be able to first shred. Probably reduce volume by about 50%. Next slide, please. Then you're doing drying, trying to get that biomass to an appropriate moisture content in order to be able to pulverize it. And so this is the hammer mill. When that runs, it turns this into that. And this is the material that you want to throw into the pellet mill in order to actually make pellets.
How are you drying it? You just stick it in the thing and just letting it dry?
In this case, in many cases, yes. Those other ones are kind of airy. Marco actually has a greenhouse on the side of his house, so it's quite warm in there throughout the year. So we were able to do a lot of ambient drying. We did have in the budget something to make what's known as a drum dryer. We actually didn't end up going down that route because we were finding that we were able to hit the moisture contents we wanted sort of on the pace that we needed. Next slide, please. So then once we got this one again to the right moisture content, you put it in the pellet mill. That moisture content needs to be between 12 and 18%. So, this moisture meter was part of our budget, certainly. When you're making the pellets, as they come out, they're warm, they're a little bit moist, they can kind of even steam a little bit. And so they're coming down this drying rack. We bought this, I think they call it like hardware cloth or something like that. We have actually a couple of those to be able to have biomass drying. That's another way you can dry the biomass before it goes in, just to increase surface area. It also helps to sort of sieve out some of the fines, and you can see all that down there, which you can just throw right back in. So if something didn't get into a pellet the first time. Next one. And then we certainly wanted to think about how are we going to utilize these like locally created energy pellets. And so we had in our budget these two little biochar stoves. So the difference between biochar stoves and like regular stoves is that you're not going for complete combustion. That's how we're able to provide you something that's not just a pile of ash. And so these are known as TLUD, top lit updraft stoves. They were commercially available. We did make hot water recirculators. This is actually, I'm drying coffee because the spent coffee grounds are moist. And if you just leave them, they'll mold. Yeah. And so we would put them in sand dryers in order to do that. We were also even bringing sand in because we were like, gosh, we've made it really hot. It's over 220 degrees Fahrenheit. If you just drop it, it could be kind of an interesting, like brought some energy from the garage into the house sort of thing. So next one. And then this was sort of our aha moment. Those little TLED stoves did not process biomass very quickly. But Marco has a wood stove in his house.
About this retort system. If you just put the pellets into a stainless steel container, put that container into the wood stove that's already been heated up, along with a couple more logs, then in the morning, they'll end up with this kind of thing. And so that allowed us to really up the production rate and start producing it much higher.
Yeah, about 5 times as many pellets we could put into that compared to the little biochar stoves. So, and you can see this is some of where we're starting to store it. Next one. Some of the data, I think we don't have enough time to go through this. But
you have about another minute.
Yeah, I figured. But the kind of recognition that if you are starting with this and have this, you've got a lot of carbon left over. And our sort of back of the envelope calculations, just by weighing it before, weighing it after, is that we think we're probably capturing about 50% of the carbon in those pine needles that likely would have just gone to a landfill to decompose, right? So there's a certain amount of carbon sequestration that is happening in these. Next one, please. And we can go to the next one after that. Actually, I'll stay on that one for just 1 second. Yeah, the one before. Just kind of recognizing, we think there's probably about 100 hours of grid or fossil heating that are being displaced by putting them in these wood stoves. That would be equivalent to about 350 pounds of like natural gas used in a home, if you're thinking that. So that's another kind of like emissions impact. You can go 2 slides on this one. And so, yeah, sort of final steps here. What have we been using it for? One surprising kind of fun one was this stuff is kind of black, it's kind of gritty. We threw it down in the driveway and it really helps with snow melt. Ice melt is often not good for dog paws. It's not great when you like shovel it and throw it into your yard. The fact that this has sort of landscaping and gardening benefits, it's like, well, I guess it would be okay to throw this into our yard. So that's been kind of a fun one that we've thought about. We're definitely planning to use it in our own landscaping, and we've spoken to the community garden in our neighborhood. They're kind of excited for us to be able to have that trash can out there so that people try using biochar. Again, opening it up to the community if anyone's interested. We could probably supply pounds and pounds worth. And we've also met with neighbors who use wood stoves in the neighborhood. We're kind of calling them our retort adopters. And we're starting to get some incoming data on that.
How does it work in the wood stove to heat? I mean, I saw where you dried out your pellets, but how does that heat? How does that work?
If you go back to the slide.
You just tell me.
Yeah, so basically it gets hot enough in there that you can kind of see shooting out of the sides under the lid here. It's getting hot enough that it's producing these volatile gases that when they come out, if they're exposed to.
So it's exacerbating the heat of the natural.
Yeah, and it actually does produce heat on its own as well.
Yeah, so yeah, tremendous amount of heat. You just keep it from combusting, and then with the lid, it's a low oxygen environment, which is kind of what you need to make biochar. Great. And I think the very last slide is just talking about some of the next steps. We did the field trip with 1 class. The rest of the lower elementary would like to come to our house when the weather conditions allow. So that's one of the ways that we're excited and continuing to more or less just push this on repeat every year when it's fall.
Bless you. So are you guys going to be mobile? Can people call you and say, come over, I've got my pine needles all stacked up, get some, make some char, or what's going to go on with this?
Yeah. One of the things that we were like anticipating and afraid of was the idea of like, if we help firewise our neighbor's house, but we just bury our own homes in the liability biomass. That wouldn't be great. So there is sort of a sequencing piece to it. But that is like the conversation we're having with our neighbors. You know, if they're interested and willing to like do some of that shredding and hold the biomass at their homes, then when we sort of like dealt with the backlog, then we can come swing by and get it. So kind of keeping it at that community level.
So we,
One quick question.
really, okay, go ahead.
What are you doing with the blends?
To be determined, they're gonna go into the retorts. We have sent the biochar off for lab analysis to learn a little bit more about what's going on in terms of like pH and the toxins, if anything is left, things like that. So we'll be able to provide that information to any of you gardeners once we get our lab results back.
Do you have business cards? Sorry, last question.
We can just give you our information, but.
I gotta leave.
Yeah, actually, I might have it.
All right, we do have, we do have to move on. I was going to say, I would encourage you all to publish your results and data somewhere. But Herbert Chapel, last presentation, thank you all so much for being here. We have a representative from Herbert Chapel.
They are currently not stationed in Flagstaff, so they sent a video.
Okay.
program. Yeah.
Thanks, Tia. So go ahead and play that then.
Sound situation is, oh, because it's playing on my computer. How do I do that?
The gentleman in the upper right-hand corner.
I can pause that audio at least for now, maybe.
I think.
Can you just turn the volume on your
So
computer?
Teams, you have to.
Oh. So thank you very much. Commissioner Paul Kowinski, the floor is yours. Willing to tolerate a bit of a joke?
Okay, I think.
Yeah.
Can
everyone
everyone
hear us?
online hear us okay?
Okay. So we put together a working group at our last meeting to draft a response on behalf of the Sustainability Commission. We drafted a letter to the council recommending on behalf of the Sustainability Commission that council does not approve Flagstaff First petition to make wildfires, flooding, and drought priority items in the carbon neutrality plan. So we tried to keep it short and sweet, focused on just providing information and facts. Did everybody have a chance to read it before the meeting? Do we need to read the letter out loud? Sure. Right now? I haven't done that yet. So
Put it in.
maybe it'll be a good test. Yeah, it'll be part of the process. So, okay. Dear Mayor Doggett.
Over here, you want me to pat you on the back?
Oh, are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, dear Mayor Daggett and City Council members, the City of Flagstaff Sustainability Commission prepared this letter in response to a citizen petition brought by Flagstaff First, FF, to change Flagstaff's carbon neutrality plan, the CNP. The petition requests that wildfires, flooding, and drought be added to the priorities currently listed in the CNP at the expense of the city's climate change mitigation efforts. The commission strongly encourages you to deny the Flagstaff First petition on the following grounds. The summary is not exhaustive, but highlights key ongoing and nascent mitigation and adaptation efforts targeting wildfire, flooding, and drought, as well as material from Flagstaff First website. Point number 1, the carbon neutrality plan already prioritizes wildfire, flooding, and drought, and was drafted under a process of due diligence with input from experts, stakeholders, and the community. And then the letter just lays things out in bullet points. The CNP was revised in December 2022. This current iteration identifies water security and healthy forests and open spaces as target areas or priorities. Same thing. The original CNP was a community-wide collaboration with participation from 18 municipal and community entities, city planning offices, local nonprofits, local commerce and economic organizations, APS, Coconino County, and others, as well as 12 sustainability office staff and interns. The original CNP was developed in response to a citizen petition to declare a climate emergency with the support and input of 2,600 community members during 5 community forum surveys, 5 climate emergency forums, 7 open houses, and 72 community presentations. And these are all cited and referenced.
Sorry. She met every single one of those people.
So point number 2, wildfire, flooding, and drought are priorities of multiple current implementation projects and plans with millions in dedicated funding allocated through voter-approved municipal bonds. The Coconino County Flood Control District, the City of Flagstaff, and other collaborating partners are working on a series of ongoing flood mitigation projects and completed a milestone project below the museum fire burn area in early February 2024. The Flagstaff Regional Plan, which serves as the primary guidance document for all other local planning efforts, and the Community Wildfire Protection Plan both address wildfire, flooding, and drought, and they are currently being updated through a process that includes community participation. In 2012, the Flagstaff Watershed Protection Project was passed. It's a $10 million bond to support forest health and water supply protection. And then in 2022, Wildfire, Flood, and Water Infrastructure Bond, also known as Proposition 441, was passed, and that's a $57 million bond, of which 26 million is devoted to flood infrastructure within the Spruce Wash area. So those are all things that are happening now. There's active community engagement, and there's a lot of funding for. Point number 3, on February 15th, 2024, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly hosted an Environment and Public Works Committee hearing on water and flood control in Flagstaff. The forum addressed how communities cope with the impacts of drought and destructive flooding, and Senator Kelly announced his plans to introduce the Drought Resilient Infrastructure Act to create new programs and authorities specifically to respond to drought conditions. Again, just another example of something that is actively happening to address Flagstaff First concerns. And then the last key point that we wanted to make is that Flagstaff First vision and goal for Flagstaff are derived from a perspective of climate change skepticism. And this is just, from information they've published on their website. The homepage states the CNP is a, quote, futile effort to change the trajectory of global warming, end quote. Selecting the Learn More button navigates to a claim that, quote, every dollar we spend on CNP is wasted on making infinitesimal changes to the atmosphere. Until China, India, and Russia change course, our impact on the trajectory of global warming will remain insignificant, end quote. Also on the Flagstaff First homepage, below a graphic prompting the reader to consider what is carbon neutrality, Flagstaff First links to a publication written by well-known climate denier Bjorn Lomborg. Based on the evidence above, the commission is curious whether Flagstaff First has organized their efforts and the citizen petition for the purpose of delaying CNP implementation. The commission believes that the CNP, as it currently stands, shows Flagstaff's leadership in climate action, allows us to make progress towards reasonable goals of carbon neutrality, and makes a positive difference in the health and well-being of our citizens. Efforts to undermine the CNP are not supported by science, by our community, or by the commission. In summary, wildfire, flooding, and drought are well recognized by local, state, and federal leaders as significant risks, and they are working diligently to protect communities from associated hazards. Please deny Flagstaff First position, and in doing so, continue to support climate action and a carbon neutral future for Flagstaff. Thank you for your consideration of these comments.
Nicely done. Very nice letter. Bravo. Very nice.
Okay. Thank you all for your, yeah.
You did all the heavy lifting.
We all participated in the research and the writing and the editing, and
Well, I think it's really valuable that you also point to what you consider are nefarious purposes on FFS.
yes.
I think that's very good that you said that. It's clear. It needs to be said that you can't just allow people to throw mud on our efforts and then stand around and say, oh, no, but we're being good people. Get them. I think it's good.
That
I'm
was,
glad you did that.
yeah.
Vice Mayor,
Get 'em.
if you're in the chat, love it.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just about to ask.
Go ahead.
No, I was just, thank you, Vice Mayor Aslan, for that note. I was gonna ask if you had any other notes, but, if not, that's okay. Director Antonopoulos?
I have a couple, wow, I have a couple things I wanted to, threw me. Add to that in just terms of process. And well, first of all, I want to just reiterate my gratitude for the commission discussing this item, the subcommittee that got together to craft it, and just well done. The item was originally scheduled to go to council this month. Flagstaff First did ask for the item to be moved based on an agenda item on the Coconino Board of Supervisors, Coconino County Board of Supervisors meeting. That had a conflict, and it's the results of some engineering reports and the impacts of upstream flooding. And I'm not speaking to that very well. However, so they asked if we could move that. With that in mind, I did speak with the clerk's office, and thank you, Tia, for navigating just what the formal process is, because there's some, we have to follow protocol, but also want to be respectful of process and sensitivities of subject matter. With that in mind, I did speak with the city manager, and he has asked Tia, once the letter is finalized, that Tia, as the liaison to the commission, will send it to the mayor and council. And so one thing that the commission can decide is at what point they want that to go to the council. We are scheduled for March 26th as we've chatted about just a few minutes ago. And so if the commission would like that to go to the council a few days before the meeting, the day of the meeting, so we should have that discussion. I think it would be helpful to ask the vice mayor in terms of, the volume of emails that are coming in. And I anticipate there will be calls to action from community groups on both sides to be directed toward the council. So my sense is that there will be a lot of volume of emails in their inbox. So my recommendation would be to get it to them in advance of the meeting, but I would like to defer to the vice mayor if he's still on.
In terms of protocol, should we make a motion to support it and sign it?
Yeah, we will have to do that.
Well, and I can,
I'm here.
okay, great. Hi. Do you have a recommendation, Vice Mayor, and when you would like the letter or suggest that the letter would be better received, just given the interest in this topic and kind of volume of emails that the council tends to get?
Yeah, I think you should send it out soon. I think it's a great letter, by the way. I might even read it during the council meeting because I'm sure not everybody will read the whole thing, but it's worth combing through. So I'd get it out to people as soon as you can, and then even follow up on it.
Yeah, it's worth following the links too. There were several different articles that came out in like the last week about Mark Kelly's visit and about that flood control project completion.
Yeah,
there was a
big deal.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, we don't have a whole lot more time. Actually don't have any more time, but do we have a motion to go ahead?
Yeah. Is everything accurate? Like, did you read it and you're like, there's no red flags of inaccuracy?
None at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Thank
want to
you.
make sure we're not.
No, I really appreciate it.
And
Yeah.
one more question I have is as I was looking at the letter, I noticed like a typo punctuation. So if we motion to approve this as is, should we just hands off? Is that the requirement, or can we fix typos?
You were reading, it was different than what was up on the screen. You read something that was different on the screen, the last lines before the last paragraph.
Oh, really?
I
might have read it
You
around.
ad-libbed a little, like.
I did. I did say a few things.
Well, that's all right.
Well,
I just wanted to
think
make
that the
sure
motion
there wasn't
should be
something.
very straightforward as
Yeah.
the commission, like what's up for the motion is the adoption of the letter that was created by the subgroup with additional,
Could you track changes?
Yeah.
track changes. of
Yeah, we did
grammatical
something
check.
similar for a different letter in the past.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I motion that we support the letter and we all agree that it's a great letter and let's get it to the city council.
Do we have a second?
I'll second with a proofread.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the motion on the table is to approve the letter as a commission with possible minor proof edits for grammar and punctuation. And to present that and for that letter to be communicated to the city council as soon as procedurally tenable. Do we have any discussion on the current motion? All right, seeing that, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. All right, the motion passes. And again, thank you to all participants.
Well done.
It was a fabulous letter.
For
Good job.
that.
Good job.
All right, so we are a little bit over time. We'll try to keep the rest of this. The other items are pretty important, but we'll try to keep it very short. So there is a, all right, so next item on the agenda. A few of us got a letter just a few days ago, really, basically saying that the people working on the regional plan would like input from Flagstaff's commissions on parts of those plans. And there's a few meetings that they would like representatives from the Sustainability Commission to attend a few meetings. And I believe the first one is on March 13th, which is a Tuesday.
We have some important updates or
Okay.
clarification, yeah, on that. Do you want to go, Nicole, or? Yeah, here, let me,
I could close my email up, so let me.
okay, so, yeah, we received an email from Sarah Dector, who has been in front of the commission about regional plans. That was an attachment on the agenda item. The review deadlines are things that kind of Sarah put to it, and actually this first energy chapter is actually being authored by the Sustainability Division, so, which is good news, you know. For the-
Yes.
Yeah, there's that too. So that deadline, that first deadline that we were concerned about, is gonna be moved back. And I do have a more concise ask in an email from Sarah Dector about like really just a lot of good clarification on what the ask was. There still was, like, the main ask was that there would be 2 representatives or kind of 2 people from the commission that would go as individuals from the public, unless the commission wants to create a subcommittee or, yeah, I think that was the other option, was to make an official subcommittee that can speak on behalf of the commission at these regional planning meetings for key chapters such as energy and growth and land use. And then there are further opportunities once it is in draft form, and this will be in the email that I send you all as well. That there'll be a 60-day public comment period, and you all as individuals are also very welcome to review the draft chapters, any of them, and submit written public comments in advance of these meetings as well. So lots of options, ways to engage on the regional planning chapters. The question is, do you all want to create a subcommittee so that those people can speak on behalf of the commission when the time comes?
I have a thought. There are only 4 of us.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So I cannot commit the time. And I think it's a big ask to have 3 people commit, like on a working group to commit the time, so that's
To be
my.
clear, a subcommittee can be fewer than 3.
Yes. I think so as well.
Okay, well then maybe,
What do you think is gonna be most effective? If we have a couple of people meet ahead of time, so we know what we're doing, we go there, which could be considered a subcommittee, or just go and be.
I guess, Nicole, do you think that this subcommittee does need to be made at this meeting, or could it possibly wait for next meeting?
So I think it can possibly wait. So, and I apologize just on behalf of the kind of planning of these meetings. There was a lot of confusing information that was coming forward. So if we're kind of stumbling on things, that's why. We're trying to navigate it as well, but I think it can wait. So right now, as I understand it, everything is in draft, and the drafts will have time for additional comment. This is because my understanding was what was happening is just that the regional plan team and the subcommittee, they just couldn't keep attending all these commission meetings and public meetings and so forth. And so they're trying to figure a way to refine processes. I think we are okay waiting on the most immediate ask, and then
The 2 reps maybe.
Yeah.
Decided,
Okay.
but just know when you go to those meetings, you haven't been elected necessarily to speak on behalf of the commission. You're going as an individual.
my hope is we can actually bring the drafts to the commission, distribute them via email, no communication among the commission about them, ask the commission to do homework. And then when we're actually in person, we take the time to go through them.
That last sentence, actually, when we are in person, when you're talking about the committee, the meeting.
The commission
meetings we're
meetings.
going to, okay.
So we will use,
Not in our
I would like to recommend for consideration that we use the commissions as time to actually talk through review minute. And my hope too is that by that time, things are moving very quickly. I will tell you, the meeting last night went to 9 PM. And really taxing on our team. I was not there, but members of the sustainability team were there.
They still had to get to work this morning, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, and so things are moving quick. We will try to also have some of our comments and reviews so we can lend commentary to the commissioners or some, hopefully expertise. But yeah, I think we can sync this up in a manner that allows us to use the commission meetings as really productive time, right, for review.
So I'm gonna repeat what I think I just heard you say, that you're going to have the department do the rough drafts. We'll get to read them, go deep into them. And then when you say the committee will talk about it, we'll talk about it at our next meeting, for example, and have some
Right,
dialogue.
so there will be some drafts available, for example, in March. So if we can just plan to carve out a regular time slot on our agendas for the next few months, they want to have a draft by August. So the next 6 months, I would like to recommend that we have time carved out in our meeting. So we'll have to be sensitive to other items that come forward or that don't have timestamps on them. So we can really take the time. This is the most important document. It's ratified by voters. It directs work plans, it directs funding. It informs building code, it informs engineering, it informs so much. It's a very, very important document.
So I'm a little confused because we started talking about open meetings where we might have representation to that. And we've moved from that where we're going to be discussing it in these meetings and not worry about going to these open meetings.
You're welcome to go to the open meetings.
That's not the point.
But if you do, you have to do so as you. Because if we don't appoint a subcommittee to
Right.
represent the commission there, then if you do decide to attend, please attend as yourself. And then know that the commission will be getting together to review the drafts and have conversation about it, which I think is a more robust process.
More appropriate too. So when we sit and look at these different rough drafts, et cetera, and make recommendations, et cetera, it goes back through the department. And then that goes to the city council. It's not something, or wherever the next step is, it's not something that we would necessarily be doing formalized. This is what the commission thinks should happen.
No,
Okay.
it's gonna go into, if you will, the general list of edits. We will keep track of our drafts. And if for any reason that becomes necessary to reference, well, then
That sounds like the way we ought to work anyway.
yeah, it's a big project. And we, at the last regional plan update, the commission did write a letter with some key points, and there might be an opportunity to do that again. So, yeah, so it's good that I think it's really good use of time. And then there's opportunity to learn, there's opportunity to share ideas and perspectives, which I think will make the comments just more well-rounded.
Okay, so given all that, is there any action on this that needs to be taken today?
Besides the fact that we'll have 3 more members next time, is that correct?
Yeah.
3 new members?
Should be.
I mean, we could assign them.
Yeah. Welcome to the commission. Here's your new job.
Yeah, you have a subcommittee that you're chairing. Go.
I just might have to attend that meeting as a private person.
Oh, attending it as a private person is always just I think it's interesting to go to those meetings, to hear how other private people speak to the issues.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to represent a larger group.
Anyway, all right, so last couple of things, is there any to and from?
Just that the Big Fit Clinic is rescheduled for this Saturday.
I have a whole bunch of stuff. I'm gonna wait till next month. And we can also just do an email.
To me. Email. You can email.
Yeah, we can do an email update.
Quick announcement, and I'm sorry to take up time, but something really exciting just happened. with a student group at NAU, a capstone engineering and data science group of students applied for it's called the 10X Prize.
Oh, yeah.
Through an initiative called 10 Across. And anyway, they submitted an entry to a clean cooling competition, and it's like this innovative idea called a smart fan. And we partnered with Habitat for Humanity of Northern Arizona to put these fans into a new development of starter homes that they're building. There's going to be 40 homes. Anyway, they made it to the finals. And so the finals are going to be in the form of a pitch competition, which will be virtual on March 19th from 10 to noon. Or we are also part of becoming a finalist. We have some money to host a watch party. So it's going to be on campus, catered by Sodexo, but it should be a lot of fun. Should be a lot of fun.
Well, for some extra snacks. No,
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah. No, you're not allowed to. But anyway, March 19th from 10 to noon, hop on virtually if you can't.
So
come in
exciting.
person. It's really exciting.
Where is it in person if we want to come in person?
It's at the Union in the Grand Canyon room. And no, it's a Tuesday. And then they're also they can win another $10,000 if they get the People's Choice for their pitch. So it's on my LinkedIn page. I've shared it, a link where you can go and vote for them.
I bet that's why Dr. Nielsen was calling during our meeting.
Oh, he probably would have done a really good job talking about it.
Thank you for letting us know. That's
Yeah,
super
it's
exciting.
really exciting, and it's a big deal if they win. They get $75,000 to prototype and build the fan, and we've got a manufacturer on the East Coast who is ready to do the work. And Habitat will get $50,000 for the implementation.
That's great.
So it's an amazing prize, and the students get some money too.
So, excuse my naivete, what does it mean when you say the pitch? Are they gonna be selling the idea and who's ever idea?
Like show.
Yeah, it's organized and run through ASU, and they have a jury that's going to be judging, so.
Yeah, thank you. What a great way to.
You want us to come and applaud really loud? So
Yes,
everyone's
yeah.
affected?
Yeah,
We like that one.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Is there any other to and from? Are there any future agenda item requests?
Regional plan time blocks.
Yes.
Jenna will probably be at the March meeting as well, Jenna Ortega, to talk about that equity checklist that we discussed briefly last time, to start like queuing us up to do that kind of review.
Yeah. I would also like to just take 5 minutes to review our budget requests for this fiscal year that pitched today.
One possible thing for y'all to look at sometime over the next few months in your.
I thought you were doing that right now.
Oh, are we?
He wants it on the agenda for
No,
next
it's
time.
for next time.
Yeah.
It is,
That's why.
dog feeding time.
I was like, was it that bad? Did I do that bad? No, just to go over, I, because the commission doesn't have any oversight over our budget, but I do like to keep you all informed.
Well, again, you want cheerleaders, don't you? I mean,
Well, yeah,
you can do that.
we'll ask you for a letter of support.
We're just trying to keep Kevin here as long as.
Well, I think.
Well-
I think she should write the letter.
One other thing that you might all consider looking at in your, copious available meeting time is, my understanding is that FUSD is basically winding down or stopping offering busing to high schoolers, which seems to not be which seems to be a little bit contrary to our climate goals, and that might be something just to.
Is it within a mile? So is it like?
No, it's a state
Within 2
legislation.
miles?
It
Yeah.
is.
There's
But
a state
I don't know if Vice Mayor's still on. I know he can speak to it more than I can, but yeah, some state legislation.
So, well,
Well, if it's state legislation, it might be out of our
Yeah.
hands anyway then.
because the state law says they have to provide it if it's beyond 2 miles.
That's.
I'm here.
Yes.
Austin, did
Yeah.
you have any, just quick intel on the state legislation or whatever
moved the busing issue forward with FUSD.
No, I had no idea.
Thank you.
And I think the legislature has been looking at variations.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just something that I heard from some people, some from friends who have school age kids and.
Oh, yeah, it's not a good one.
Well, any other future agenda item requests? All right, well, in that case, this meeting is adjourned. Y'all take care and have a lovely
Should
evening.
we sing a should old acquaintance be?
Hey, y'all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks, everyone.
We're not singing a goodbye.